The Norwegian Method.
I'm Gustav 3 times world champion.
I'm Kristian Blumfeldt, Olympic and 3-time world champion.
I'm Dr. David Lippman, a health and human performance specialist. And welcome to the Norwegian Method podcast.
The Norwegian Method. The Norwegian Method.
All right, welcome back to the Norwegian Method podcast. We're running two streams, as listeners would know, and we've got a stream with the boys here, Kristian and Gustav. So episode 2 with you, joining us from Sierra Nevada. So thank you very much for taking the time out of your training schedule, gents.
No worries. It's our podcast as well. So I guess thank you, David, for taking time of your day-to-day life to have a podcast with us.
No, of course. I enjoy it. I enjoy these greatly. I'm always laughing. I'm always learning. So I appreciate you too and appreciate your time. But so last time we talked to you both, we were talking from Nice training. You then went to Bergen. So let's touch on that quickly. How was Bergen? How was being home, boys?
Bergen was good. Not to talk too much for what we're going to talk about in today's episode, but I did some testing on myself. And having Olav around all the time is good. But now I did testing all by myself. And I used the VO2 Master and Core and everything. And yeah, I'm not an expert in analyzing yet, but it's been interesting.
Yeah. And for me, the time in Bergen was good as well. It was just over 2 weeks. We were home in Bergen. And by the end of the Nice camp, I felt a bit fatigued and tired from the volume. Like that was the purpose as well with being in Nice. And so I had like a few easier days when I came back home to Bergen, 4 or 5 days, and then ramped up with intensity instead. And really felt like I got like a good push on the training when I was home and responding well on that. And pleased with actually both swim, bike and run. And did play around a bit with bike position there as well. Used the VO2 Master there for trying to understand the bike fitting a little bit better and looking at the oxygen cost for the different positions. So I've been been like lifting up the elbows a bit more now, and we'll see how that's going to impact the aero testing that we'll do in like 2 or 3 weeks when Body Rocket is coming up here. So that was the time in Bergen, and 2 weeks goes quite quickly around. So it's basically just in with the luggage and making a mess, and then trying to get control over the mess again before heading out.
Yeah, I was at Kristian's place, and he has a pretty big place now, but everything just ended up in the entrance. That's where all his stuff was. So he was able to open the door and get in, but not much more.
It's a shorter way to drop it off, but also a quicker way to leave. So I had 2 bike bags in the entrance, and then further in I had like 2 more suitcases because I got a new suitcase as well, and also a lot of sponsorship equipment's been shipped to Bergen. So it was like an exciting Christmas evening almost coming home, and I guess that's how it is for you as well. Every time you're coming home, it's always some new equipment.
I had some good on deliveries in Bergen. So this time, I don't think I packed anything used on the run or casual clothing. So it's been, this sounds maybe very from up looking down, but it's a bit annoying to take off the then this sounds a bit childish or whatever, but it is actually a bit annoying.
Oh, I love that. And did you get any spikes for your calves? I know that it's a big part of Kristian's life now is trying to get his calves to touch the bottle on the bike. So are you joining club calves with the spikes?
No spikes yet. I'm still happy with the more casual interval shoes. But I think spikes will be introduced.
And then the other question for you after our last podcast episode is, how'd you go finding a bike bag?
I didn't.
You didn't yet? Okay. So not enough people commented on your Strava.
I reinforced the handlebar so it's protected. So I used the broken handlebar and wrapped it around the new handlebar. So nothing gets broken in that bag now, at least in the handlebar department.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. So I think listeners would have been waiting to hear what you chose. So that's good. Right, well, let's touch on Sierra Nevada. It's been snowy from what I've seen on Strava and social media. Is that something you guys were expecting, or is it something you just have to deal with at Sierra Nevada, or what's the story?
You never know what you're getting. Like you can come up here in January, February, and it can be t-shirt and quite warm middle of the day, and March can be the same. Like I was looking through pictures from a couple of years back and seeing that you can get 8 feels like 18 20 degrees at least on the track, and you can get snow cows, so you can't really even get down to Sierra Nevada to Granada. But yesterday we saw a small window of sun, so we were planning to go on the turbo. We were like, yeah, going down there, and then Gustav was saying, let's go out. He's looking down. And from here we can see quite nicely. Like it's a very spectacular view. So then we said, okay, it's definitely a window of 45 minutes without rain, and then we will do some riding down to Granada and then do the intervals back up again. And then, how did you find the climbing?
Yeah, it was good, but I was a bit nervous down there because it started to get a bit chilly and rainy. And Granada is at about 800 meters elevation, and temperature drops quite quickly going up to 2,300. And on the computer it said 9 degrees. So
In Granada.
In Granada, yeah. So I was a bit nervous, and it was actually pretty cold. Doing 2 of the intervals, we did 6 times 10 minutes at threshold, so it was a really good session for me. Actually, third highest 1 hour power ever. Not that I ever target the 1 hour power, but it was a good session for me. And but the third and fourth 10 minutes, it was what we say in the Norwegian, slud. It's the mix between rain and snow. It's like the in-between stage. So then it was both wet and cold. So it's actually nicer when it just started snowing, pure snow, because then it at least wasn't as wet.
But then on the fifth interval, we we passed the police control, because then there was like sign you need to have like these spike tires on the cars, or winter tires, or like the socks around. And then we had like a 15-second stop where they sort of asked why we were going up in the snow, and they stopped like all the cars there. But then, yeah, we managed to get by, and the traffic downhill was like going super slow, and felt like every 10 car was like rolling down the window and cheering as we were riding.
Championa! So we had a lot of good motivation there.
Lots of in real life kudos. I like it. And is there anyone else doing riding outside, or is it just you two that are crazy enough to go outside in that?
It was a few cyclists that did the same, and that's part of the reason why I was inspired to go down, because I saw that the Spanish people do it. And the Spanish, they usually don't enjoy the cold weather. So when I saw them, I was like, yeah, we can't be any worse. And towards the end of the ride, we got passed by like a smallish Spanish rider. He was riding pretty fast uphill. I was like cheering on him, and he didn't even reply. So like, that's a bit strange, because most cyclists are really friendly, especially when you're like battling tough conditions together. So when we finally came back up to the training center here, I saw him in the reception sitting down, like, on the floor, crying because he was so cold. So I was like, yeah, it is cold, and it was an intense ride, but crying, I was like,
I have to shoot in that we were done with our intervals when he passed us.
yeah, you weren't doing a threshold interval. Yeah, of course, and I'm sure he was in the middle of like a 5-minute all-out effort.
Yeah,
so.
I think he was in a survival mode.
Yeah.
That's also like when you know that it's that cold, like it's not like you're pushing that hard that you need to like lay down on the ground, like you are holding back a little bit. But yeah, at least it was good to ride together. I felt a little bit like discomfort on my position. I hit like a bomb down in Granada, and my seats went a little bit like upwards, or like so I was riding with a little bit wrong position the whole climb, and I found it out when I came up here. So I felt a little bit like so, but at least it was good to be able to ride together for the intervals. But now I guess we have like another week where we will stay inside for most of the time. Like the run is fine to do outside when it's easy, but yeah, other than that, it's going to be.
You say it's. I mean, are you doing that on the track, or you? I've saw some stuff on Strava. You're going around the town as well. That's like not particularly. I mean, it's not much better than the track, and it's pretty hilly around that town from what I remember running there.
Yeah, it is really hilly here, but for the easy runs, it's good to have a little bit of offload, especially for me, offload in the working muscles and work some different run muscles. If you do everything on track, you get super efficient, but the injury risk is also there, and especially for me. So we have been running in the snow on the trails and doing some climbing as well. So, but all the high intensity stuff is on the woodways, and they have a lot of woodways here. So it's quality stuff we're dealing with.
And I feel for the mind, like we have to have a healthy mind up in doing this training. So it's also good to get out from the center and not to be 24 hours a day locked in. So having this like 60 minutes or 75 minutes window where we can go out and get some fresh air is also good.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this. Before recording this, I was sort of Strava stalking you both and just thinking that's a lot of work to be doing indoors. I mean, you're riding, you're training 30 hours a week. Almost all of that's indoors. I'd say it's probably, my guess is probably somewhere between 20 hours and 25 hours indoors a week, which is.
So like the plan tomorrow is waking up, having breakfast inside. Like we're just walking to the canteen and then going for a run on the treadmill, I guess. And then we will go to the pool, which is still inside the building. And then we will go to the lunch, which is still inside. And then go down again to the gym and do the riding there, which is again inside. And then go to dinner, which is inside. So now the only thing is if we're too long or big block inside, we need to stock up more on like snacks and food and like to have around the main meals.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And who else is up there with you? I've seen a couple of people on Strava as well. Who's in camp with you?
So the Norwegian national team in triathlon is here. We have the swims together with them, so it's good to have some company there. And the Irish triathlon team is up here. It was two club teams in swimming as well. So didn't swim with the Norwegian clubs because the swimmers are breaking my confidence too much. So we had some, or like everyone is eating in the same canteen, so it's good to speak with them, but no training together. And some cyclists, no really like high profile cyclists here yet. I think Movistar just came. And yeah, Norwegian runner, Narva, is here. So it's a good mix.
You forgot to mention Kasper and Marius Bjergseth. So
that's our group.
Yeah, so we are having four guys, 4 wheels on the car now. And Marius Bjergseth, he also raced in Uzbekistan last year, so that's where I got to know him. So he's joining us for most of the training, and he's also studying at Lillehammer at university where they're doing a lot of research. So he's also like quite into testing and the research that they're doing over there. So he's also keeping the conversation on the dining table at the right topics.
Yeah, he's doing his masters on bicarb, so he has a lot of interesting stuff to come with.
That's very cool. I'm sure it's nice that, if one of you wants to put the headphones in for breakfast and ignore everyone else, now you've got, 2 others that you can talk to at least. So it's not just you two. Yeah, love it. And are they ploughing the track up there for you guys, or is it still a bit of a slush fest?
We can look down at the track from every room at the center, and no, the issue is that it's coming new snow every single day, and it's melting a little bit and coming. So they only plow the trail or the track when it's like at least a few days, because using the plow on the track cover is not good. So it's only like the last snow they usually take.
But then they only do like the outside, so you can do like 450 meters, and then it always dripped like water in to that lane, so it's like slippery. So still, it's good for easier runs, but if you want to do some faster stuff, then you need to do it on the woodways.
I'm surprised by how many people are up there. It sounds like there's quite a few people up there, not just your group. So that must be nice, because I would have thought it would have been deserted.
Half capacity, I feel like, because they are fixing most of the rooms, so it looks like a construction area ish.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work getting done here. This center, like the training center, I think it's old, but the hotel is not that old, but it definitely needs some help staying up, because I have a huge leak coming through my window here, so I can't put too much stuff in the with the window, because then it's getting all wet. So it's a good thing they're doing the upkeeping now, because I don't think it would stand too many years longer, because the conditions up here is also super harsh, so it's not the easiest place to build.
And when the wind is blowing towards the window now, we feel a bit like cold on the arms. So they're definitely, yeah, it's good that they're putting in some investment now. And I think they fixed the pool in the fall, so it was closed for a few weeks, a month in the fall. But yeah, it's good to see that people are coming up here and it's being like appreciated by a lot of athletes.
The Norwegian method.
Morton's hydrogel technology encapsulates carbohydrates, making their gels and drink mix easy to consume and easy on the stomach. With no added colors, flavors, or preservatives, you get exactly what you need and nothing you don't. It's the fuel we rely on both trading and to execute on the race day. To get 20% off your next purchase on morton.com, simply enter the code TNMS2 at checkout. The code is applicable once per customer on all products except the Morton bicarb system. Valid until December 31st, 2025.
The Norwegian method.
It's what you guys wanted. Nice and Spartan. A little bit of discomfort, a little bit of snow, a little bit of like adversity for your comeback year. This is exactly what you were chasing.
Yeah, it's true.
Hungry wolves chase better than wolves that are like completely full of sheeps.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, well, let's get into it. Let's get into it, guys. Let's talk. Let's start with just key training sessions, and then we can talk about bike position. We can talk about some other stuff as well. So maybe a key swim, bike, and run session you guys have done up there that you've enjoyed, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I think I can do yesterday. I already talked about the bike. So that was 6 times 10 minutes. And
you guys went down as well for some cornering stuff, right? So you go down for a bit of technical cornering, then come up with the sort of threshold type work.
yeah, but the downhill is not that easy to do. It's kind of similar to Nice, but not really, because it's too much a high speed downhill. But it's good to get some bike handling at least. But no lactate measurement on this session, because too cold and too time consuming to do it on your own, and you have to undress and stuff. So just do it by feel. So I'm not sure how on threshold I was, but I was pushing around 350. So yeah, for me, I would say that's it's a good session. And the reason why I got top 3 all-time power on 1 hour on this session was because also the easy part was not that easy, because we were still riding to stay warm. So in the break we did like 220 power. So I think I had 335 1 hour power, which is not high compared to a lot of the other athletes, but we never aim for like the 1 hour stuff as well. So it was okay. And then in the evening, we did 12 times 1K on the woodways. So I postponed the session a little bit. We had booked the session, or I booked the treadmills for 16:30, but I was a bit cooked after the cold and the power. So I came down to the track, or the treadmills, when the others were finished. So that was a bit it was a bit tough to start the session when I knew the others had a good session and already done quite well. But I I started at 16k per hour to just keep it super simple, and then progressed into 18k per hour, so 320 pace. And then I had 1.8 in lactate, going down from 2.2 to 1.8 at 18k per hour. So really getting more and more efficient throughout the session, which I like to see.
At altitude as well, which is really impressive. So
And 1.5 incline. So it's not insane, but it's good.
yeah, wow, that's really impressive. And that's a good run volume for you as well. How's that compared to your previous sessions in terms of volume?
Yeah, 12k on threshold is where I want to be right now. So I think increasing to 14 is something I would do maybe more May, June. So 12,000 at like 320 pace is it's good at the moment.
Awesome. And anything key swim sessions you want to talk about, or just trying to avoid the swim clubs?
Yeah, we did 14 times 50 at 50, going from
40.
40
Yeah.
times 50 at 50. Start at 50. Starting at like 36 low and finishing at 34 high, which is pretty good in altitude, I would say.
Yep. Yeah. And how are you feeling in the water? I know we talk about your feel for the water and how you're moving through it a lot. How's it all going up there?
It's okay. It's not amazing, but I usually struggle a lot in this pool. So combining altitude with the high humidity, which makes the air even tougher or like even thinner, it's a really, really challenging pool to swim in. And if you combine also the current, it's one of the slowest pools in the world, I feel like. So for me, it is good at the moment.
Awesome. What about you, KB? What's been different for you? What have you been doing?
Yeah, so like yesterday, I did the same session as Gustav on the bike. I was actually riding together with him for most of the time. I had some smaller gaps, but yeah, I just wasn't able to get up the intensity. I was feeling that the pedal stroke was just off the whole ride, and I both tried to be like in the air position, and then just felt like something was off, and riding around like 360.
And you think that's seat position related?
Yeah, I think it tilted a little bit. So it was too long reach, and I wasn't able to activate my hamstring. And then for the last 2 by 10 minutes, it was just annoying me. And I was thinking, should I stop and pull down the saddle a little bit, or should I try to just be standing for the rest of the ride? But it was too cold, so I just kept riding. And I was quite tired after that, or not tired, but like cold-ish, and like felt like I would rather go for a power nap. But since we booked the treadmill quite quickly after the ride and after the lunch, I just got myself down there.
He wanted it more than me.
And then after actually during the warm up, I just suddenly started feeling pretty good again. So for Mings, almost like feeling would rather sleep 1 hour midday to feeling quite good in the warm up and ready for the session. And I was ready, running the 12 by 1K from 18k per hour. So I did 4 at 18. And then I did a measurement 7.1, and then I did 4 more at 18.5 and had 1.8 in lactate. And then I thought, okay, now it's four left. Let's take off the seatbelt a little bit. So went to 19, 19, and 20, 20 for the last 4. So I saw when I was running at 20k per hour that the heart rate went above altitude, and I was hoping the threshold will be sort of. I knew it would be above threshold, but not too much above. But up here in altitude, 2,300, it's when you first start ramping up, it's ramping up pretty much. So ended up at 4.1 after the last one.
You mentioned, you just said you got to 7.1. You meant 1.7, I think, at 18 k's an hour.
1.7, 1.8, and then 4.1. But I sort of comparing to 1.8, I cut off like 15 seconds for the last two. So it was like a sort of it wasn't a soft increasement of the pace. So not a big surprise, but I felt surprisingly fresh after the session. So I was actually feeling better after the session than what I was feeling before. So pleased with that. That was the second run session I did up here. We also did a similar session as we possibly could have done without having done the same, because I did 10 by 4 minutes on Thursday, so 3 days before, at sort of the same pace, and felt I often feel like the treadmill is harder than running on the track here as well. So I was sort of pleased with the response there, and again, not too extensive. It's sort of still 12k, but I would rather try to lift up the pace a little bit rather than stretching it out too much now. And then by the end of the camp, I will maybe run 14, 16k in order to get ready for Oceanside. And then swimming is actually feeling like it's coming pretty well and feeling quite good in the water, and really investing time in mobility work now every evening, doing 20 minutes of stretching through like a protocol, and feeling like surprisingly better with the shoulders, and also like the entrance when I'm like coming in, and also the push phase is coming better. So actually enjoying the swim sessions here, and so we did the same 40 by 50 last Saturday, yes,
Yeah.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
And swam from like 35 to 32 there without being too smashed, and then finishing off with 10 by 100.
He just had to stay the same session than me, but he also did the 10 times 100 just to show that he's doing a little bit more all the time.
10 by 100 at as cool down, where we left or having starting every 130 and came in at like 130, 113 or 114, and just trying to be as efficient at that pace. A little bit as a preparation for tomorrow, because tomorrow we're having 6 time 500, and the goal there is to start off at like 115 pace, and maybe finishing off at like 113 pace, which is something I would normally have been happy with at sea level. So hopefully I can do that now up here. And yeah, I'm enjoying the swimming, and especially the easy part feels almost as easy as it did 3 years ago. So I haven't been feeling this good in the water in a while.
Very good. And what's it like when Gustav doesn't show up for the treadmills? What happens? Is there any, like, is there text messages? Is there punishments? Is there banter? What's the story?
No, I did say beforehand, and I was warning them an hour before, so it was not like I'm not just going to show up. It's not like I woke up and said I'm not coming now. I planned it, so then it's okay. I think.
And I had Casper next to me, and he was also having a good session. So we were
And Marius
as well, but he was like 2 treadmill further down, so I didn't really see him. But yeah, it's plenty of athletes running there, and I was a little bit worried when he came there, and he was sort of looking like tired in his face, and like I was thinking, okay, he's just gonna go for an easy run. He's calling it a day, and then he still had a great session, so that was good to see.
And do you guys hang around and help him out? Or do you just, nah, mate, you decided to come down late. I'm going to eat. You have a good day.
they had some chocolate milk next to me for like half an hour. But it's a bit cold down there to just hang out. But they did spend some time. But me coming a bit later, I brought my camera and I made a reel for Casper and some stuff. The issue is that he also filmed me a little bit, but it's not as cool when you're filming me in the start, because I'm running 16k per hour, which is like, it's warm-up pace really, but it's warm-up within the interval. So I don't want to be filmed for Instagram for 16k per hour while he gets like the best part, the filet mignon. I get the bacon of the session, So I didn't use any footage.
That's funny. You can always speed it up, mate. People don't know what to speed.
People see the display. People know that shit.
Okay, fair enough. I like it. I like it. What is it? So what happens if someone's late? Do you guys just start the session? Is there punishments? What's the story?
Depends. Like we normally, as we're only a group of 4, like for the bike and run, then you normally just wait. And if they are texting and letting us know, then we will maybe just start off.
And now most of the sessions is indoors, so then they just have the punishment to ride after when the others are done. So yeah, it's not like super strict timing wise now, because in Sierra Nevada you have some time usually because everything is quite close to each other. But if, for example, in Nice, when you have to drive for stuff and you're waiting for someone every single day to take the elevator down to the car, then it's getting annoying. But here it's just like you have a bit more time throughout the day.
But if you're riding 3 hours on the turbo and you are 5 minutes ahead from the beginning, that's a mental advantage to have for 2 hours and 55 minutes on the other.
Yeah, that's funny. I like that. I love to hear that. And I mean, broadly, how are you guys feeling about how training's progressing? I mean, you know, KB, you mentioned, you know, swim's feeling really, really good. Best it's felt in years. Gustav, you mentioned, you know, it's best, you know, top 3 1 hour power. So obviously you guys are in shape. Is that how you guys feel? Or is it still a bit like, oh, well, a bit tired and, you know, altitude sucks and indoors is terrible?
I do feel great and feeling like no sickness or anything. And usually around this time I get sick in altitude because the weather or the dryness of everything and just all the ventilation, and I'm a bit sensitive in that area. But now it's been great, and it's a bit risky to say it a month out of Oceanside, but I do really think we are on track to old heights. Obviously not for me quite yet, because yeah, it just takes time to keep on building. But I'm confident that it's going to be a good performance from my side.
And what have you done? What have you done to stay away from sickness, Gustav? Is it just AG1 or something else?
Yeah, AG1 in the morning, but I also do some nights with Plasmaide. And I feel like it helps a little bit, but I don't want to take too much Plasmaide in altitude because yeah, it does increase your saturation of oxygen, and kind of the effect we're looking for is the decrease in saturation. So obviously I only do it some nights where I do feel like I need the boost for the day after, and if I feel extra tired. But yeah, I'm mindful of sleep and recovery and getting all the micronutrients, and also staying kind of in weight balance. I am not like actively going down in weight, but I have been heavier than on my top performance, and I'm not been any stronger while being heavier. So I have lost a little bit of weight, but nothing major. So a little bit of weight decrease as well.
Okay, sorry, KB, I was interrupting you. You're about to start talking about how happy you are with training progression.
Yeah. Like it's now this time of the year when I start having nightmares about races, like transitions, and it was last night I was dreaming that I was 55 minutes away from the starting gun in Kona, and I was still in my hotel room, and I hadn't yet gone to get my bib numbers, and I was suddenly wasting time on cleaning my backpack from old baguettes, and like those sort of race scenario nightmares are coming. So feeling like ready to start racing again. Yeah.
But that's so strange how all triathletes are having the same nightmares, and I feel like all nightmares are T1 T2 related or start line related. Like you come into T1 and the bike is not there, or you forgot to check in something, and it's like it's a universal triathlon experience. It's just crazy.
And a few weeks before, I had the same nightmare, but just about the Olympics. So it was a few hours away, and I didn't do the logo check yet, even though it was a race morning. So starting to feel that I'm ready to race again, and yeah.
I think it's an interesting insight that the nightmares are what makes you feel like you're ready to go. Like it's but no, I think it's helpful for people to hear, because you know the nightmares are not pleasant and no one wants them, right? But you get them in preparation for when you know you're going to be racing and you're in sort of shape. So it's interesting to hear that.
But then you're just making sure that your checklist is ready. Like, you know, that, okay, the equipment is good. I have the right the front ring for the course in Oceanside. I have the right you're like going through the list and making sure that you have the enough Morton for race day when you're getting there. Like, you do all of those things, and also maybe even putting in a little bit of transition training in the training, just as simple things as coming off the bike. You can start taking off the bike shoes, so you're sort of practicing that with the shoes, and it's good for the mind. You know, you're automatically getting ready for the race. And maybe a little bit contrast to Gustav, I'm a little bit more heavier user now on Plasmaide, using it both morning and evening, or before two of the sessions of the day, in order to get like a bigger block now of the effect, and then I will go off it like as I'm going into race week, and have some days without getting close to Oceanside, and then on again.
Okay, that's interesting. Periodizing your use. Okay, and let's talk bike positions. We talked last time. We said, yeah, Gustav, you had your broken handlebars. KB, you were dialing things in. Like, where are we at now? Now that we're nearing in on Oceanside, maybe not right around the corner, but it's certainly coming close by.
I changed a little bit of my cockpit today, just because I wasn't dissatisfied with my position. I just wanted to try something new, or maybe try something old, because before I was slightly lower with my position, and I think with a new TT helmet from Giant, I need to be a little bit lower, especially with my hands, because my hands are kind of in the field of view. So to keep my head low and the vision clear, I need to get the hands out of view. So I changed a little bit. I'm now on the old drag to zero extensions instead of the sync ones. No particular reason other than to just change a little bit back and forth. I'm lucky to be getting sent free stuff quite a lot, so I have a lot of equipment to try out, and I haven't signed up with anything there. So just fun to play around with positioning. So now I'm quite a bit lower and quite a bit shorter than I was before, and then see how long I am on this position before I think I will change back, but it's just interesting to see.
The Norwegian method.
We have been using Plasmaide for the last 18 months, and what I love the most is how it helped me get ready for the hardest sessions. A hard session is tough in itself, but with Plasmaide it just gives me that little bit extra that helps me perform every single time. We use Plasmaide approximately 40 minutes before training and sometimes before flights. After using Plasmaide, I feel like the oxygen is just more available in my muscles. I felt like every single breath is utilized more. Alongside their orange, strawberry and watermelon flavors, Plasmaide have launched a new delicious pineapple citrus flavor. Visit plasmaide.co.uk and use the code NM15 for 15% off your order.
The Norwegian method.
And when you say it's interesting to see, what are you looking for? Are you looking for feeling? Are you looking for data? What's the story?
We don't have the aero sensor up here from Body Rocket, but Body Rocket will come up. And I think it's good to have some initial feelings before you spend a whole day or 2 days testing with Body Rocket. So yeah, it's just nice to have a clear direction of where you want to go power-wise before you go into the aero session. So if you're only looking for aero data, then of course you want no influence at all on what you think is faster, because then you just want to look at the data. But if you have a feeling where you are the most powerful, then you have to influence the testing going towards where you're also the most powerful, because aero is not everything. You have to have a strong position and also comfortable position.
Yeah, so you're looking to, and this makes sense, if you've got people coming to optimize aerodynamics, is trying to understand comfort and power as 2 points of the triangle, for the third point to be added where you get the position that you're going to end up riding with ultimately, right? Which is a combination of those three things. It's not one or two of them.
Yeah. So now I try to get as much insight as possible on the new Trinity to see where I like to be, and then we do the aero after. And yeah, the reason why I'm not super long like in Kona is just because I think I said it on the last podcast as well, but just because of the demands on the course in Nice is so different from Kona that I need some more handling skills or handling abilities.
And probably visibility too.
Yeah, visibility also. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, KB? You've been doing a bunch of testing from what I've heard.
Yeah, it's much the same. It's trying to find a more powerful position where I have more control over the torque efficiency. And I think also, really dialing in the back end of the bike position, like with my hip angle and the pedal stroke. So working on or settling in that, and then we will work on the front area like a little bit more, like when the body rocket is coming. So and then to be able to look at what's the penalties and what's the benefits of the different positions, so I have a little bit like more clear vision of where I want to go, and also figuring out how I can improve my bike handling skills in a TT position. So that's also a little bit like maybe moving myself a little bit further backwards to get a little bit better balance on the bike. And often I feel when I'm doing testing, if I do it like just if I just move myself a little bit further forward, in the session itself, I might feel stronger, powerful, just because I'm able to activate the quads more in that new position. But then over time, I often feel like my quads is suffering more and more, and my overall power will decrease. So being a little bit more aware of that and being able to activate the hamstring. So I will get a guy joining me up here in 2 weeks' time who will also look through the bike position as we're doing the aero position. So yeah, excited to see how it will go, both in the testing, but also as I'm coming to Oceanside.
Yeah, no, that's great. So interesting to hear that you guys are dialing that in, and you got Body Rocket coming up.
And also in Bergen, like I did a little bit of testing on the turbo first by just like adding a towel on the cups in order to lift myself up with about 2 centimeters. So I was doing a little bit like back and forth there with the VO2 Master and looking at the oxygen cost of being lower and the tidal volume, and I'm just more relaxed. I'm able to utilize my lungs more when I'm those 2.5, 3 centimeters a little bit higher up with my elbows, and then also I'm able to get more powerful. So when Body Rocket is coming here, we can then look at what is potentially the penalty or the cost of going up. If it's only like 10 or 15 watts aero loss, it might be worth it. If it's 50 watts loss, then I just have to force myself down again. So yeah, it's good to have the like more numbers to do the judgment of.
Yeah, it's also interesting for me hearing how long this takes for you guys. I kind of get the vibe, and I'm not a cyclist, I'm not a triathlete, but I get the vibe that some people go and like, oh yeah, I went to the lab and now I have my position and it's kind of done one day. You guys are sort of taking a much longitudinal approach to it. Is like it's going to take me a few weeks and months to really dial this in and get it right. You're triangulating all those factors. Whereas some people are like, yep, went to the tunnel, now I'm done. This is my position, and I guess that's one way you can do it is like force yourself to get comfortable in that position. But it doesn't strike me as optimal.
A few years ago going into Ironman in St. George. But then I think what we learned there, or especially Kristian, was that aero optimized positions is not good when it comes to real life results. And especially in St. George, where some of the parts of the course was really windy, and especially side wind, and he had a really interesting position that was optimized for the wind. But yeah, he ended up switching just a few days before the race because it just didn't work out.
I took his spare part from his spare bike and started taking off whatever he had on his bike and put it over to my bike. So sometimes
optimize for front on wind, not side on wind.
Yeah, I usually travel with some different extensions and stuff just because I like to play around. And that's the good thing about the non-customized ones, that you can play around if you want to. but I do think I will end up on like a mono design for knees, just because the weight savings can be pretty good. I just need to figure out when and how and what brand and what position. So it's getting closer, but I need to really nail down a position before we start manufacturing something in carbon. But that's the route I will go eventually.
Yeah. And you mentioned some of your testing you've done as well. You did a bit of a step test as well. You mentioned, Gustav.
Yeah, at home in Bergen. So I just did it in the garage now, not in the lab. So I did a run test, a swim test, no, a bike test, swim test,
I was
run
going to say, do you swim in the garage?
almost. No, I swim in the ADO. And on the swim test, I got help from Kai Arild, which is the like it's a swim national center in Bergen for elite swimmers, and he's the main coach there. So he helped me on the swim because it's a bit of a hassle with a VO2 master if you're by yourself in the pool. So he helped out quite a lot. So shout out to Kai Arild there. But on the bike and run, I did everything myself. So did the protocol that we do in the lab. So 6 minutes, increasing until you are safely above threshold, and then I only did one VO2 max and not a double VO2 max like we do in the lab. And the numbers was honestly a bit disappointing. I was hoping for more. It could be like a lot of different factors. The turbo is challenging to ride on a Tux turbo when you've been a long time off, just because it's punishing throughout the whole stroke, the whole pedal stroke. So I did bleed extra there towards the end when it's over threshold, because I'm just not strong enough to really push through the power there. And on the run, I felt the fatigue from the test before, so also not great. But what I'm most interested in is the deflection point to find LT1 and LT2 for lactate, and using that in my training. And that you can do even though the numbers are relatively low. So I'm happy with how I managed to do the testing and how I can use it going forward. But yeah, the numbers itself is not that good. Also, I need to have more of a learning to use the VO2 master more efficiently. That's for sure, because I spend a little bit of time taking on and off, and I think that's just like a learning curve. For now, I've been served everything in the lab. Everything has been just handed to me. So now when you're doing things yourself, you just have to be a little bit more mindful. But I think I will see great results testing more on myself in the future.
Love it. And only a couple more, guys. I know you're going to go to dinner. KB, I noticed you shaved the beard, mate. Is that to do with VO2 Master, or is that to do with being in camp, or what's the story? Because last time I saw you, had a big old beard.
Yeah, it was actually due to a lost bet. Not a lost bet that I took it, but a lost bet because that's what was the reason why I kept it. So I did a bet before the racing Kona that if I won the race, another guy needed to shave his head, and if I if I had won the race, he would have to shave the head. If I didn't win the race, I would have to save the beard until March. That was just a lost bet I was regretting every day since. Every time I look at myself in the mirror, I was like, not again. So it was quite refreshing to take it and look like I'm 23 years old again instead of being 45. Be kind in the comment section now, guys.
That's hilarious. I love to hear it. Love to hear it. And let's talk next steps, guys. So you're racing Oceanside. Where to from here? How much longer at Sierra Nevada? And then where to?
1st of April, we are leaving to the US, and we're going to stay there until end of April. So first Oceanside, and then we go to Texas and then train in Texas until the Ironman, the full distance there. And then it's home. And then the next race would be 18th of May in France, Aix-en-Provence.
So now we're training more like or we will build up towards extensive altitude, and then after Oceanside we will try to do whatever we can in order to be efficient as possible for Texas. So then it's going to be some tougher Ironman specific sessions, and it will also be interesting to see how Casper will be responding on the training going into hopefully his first Ironman to finish.
Yeah. And you guys are staying in Texas. You're not going to altitude. Why no altitude?
No, I don't think it's smart to go to altitude to do the preparation for an Ironman, because you need the muscular load more than you need the physical improvement of the blood going to altitude. So I think this block of altitude now, it's smart, and then focusing more on like the muscular load in the last bit going into Texas. Also, we are not that the half Ironman is that intense, but racing for almost 4 hours takes quite a lot out of you. And recovering in altitude is a bit slower. So I think it's smart to go straight to the race, or not the race venue, but the race location, and limit your travel as much as possible, especially when it's only 3 weeks in between races. And we still want to get a lot of training done, because so far we haven't done anything Ironman specific. So that will come purely after Oceanside.
That makes sense. You do a specific block down in Texas, probably do some heat gain type stuff in Texas, although it won't be super warm.
I'm sneaking in a little bit Ironman specific on the bike, trying to lift up the easy power to as close to Ironman power. So sneaking in a little bit already. But I think in terms of altitude, I think it's not good to be too much time in altitude. I think that was one of the mistakes we did last year. So I think it's good to get that stimuli and then go down to sea level and maximize it there. And then like getting that stimuli of a little bit higher power. But if I was just preparing for one Ironman, and if Texas would have been the main goal of the season, I think I could have been doing a lot of specific training up here.
Yeah,
as long
starting earlier.
As long as it's not too warm.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Guys, I'm going to let you go to dinner. I know you guys are hungry. You've been training all day. Appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing all that, guys. We will see you guys in a little while. I think next time we'll probably podcast is post Oceanside. So keep an eye out for that for the listeners. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That way you'll get notified when we drop those episodes. Do share the podcast if you do enjoy it and think someone else would. And of course, we appreciate you all, and we will see you next time on the episode. Thanks for joining us, guys.
See ya. Thank you.
Stay hungry.
The Norwegian